So, our next speaker is Emiliyan Enev from Recheck. Recheck is a startup company in the blockchain space, and they have not done an ICO. I repeat, they have not done an ICO. So they bring in a different perspective of how do you build a business without doing an ICO. And he's going to be speaking about can technology help us escape, zero-sum economies, zero-sum games, and how to regain control over our data. So please welcome on stage Emiliyan.
Okay, so it works. Hi everyone, can you hear me well? Okay. My name is Emiliyan, and I'm running one of the first blockchain startups in Bulgaria, actually. It's called Recheck, and we have not done ICO, and we are still alive and kicking, so it's possible to do it, actually. What we are trying to do, we started around maybe 1.5 years ago, and we wanted to find some real-world application of this blockchain technology. So we wanted to make something that actually works. We wanted to show that you can do something that can bring value with blockchain. And I will show in my last slides what we are building and what you can do now with our product. So I was told that I will put off the stage if I'm too slow or late, so I'll be speaking a bit fast and go quickly through the slides. Actually, there is a bit of overlapping with the previous speakers, so I'm glad that we're on the same page, speaking about the values and the principles behind this technology. And I'm pretty confident that we all share these principles as values as a community. Okay, so you can see that perhaps we are at the beginning of something that is with the potential to become huge. And maybe in the next few years, there will be a tipping point in this market of blockchain services and products. So at around 2020, perhaps, there will be a really accelerated growth. And this parallel with the beginning of internet and with the big platforms that just started is exactly on point. So actually the potential is huge. It's the typical hockey stick diagram that you see in the startup world, actually. How many of you have Facebook and Gmail accounts? Could you please raise your hand? Okay, of course, majority. So perhaps you know that at any given point in time, Google or Facebook, they can just suspend your account without any explanation, without any reason. And all the content that you have on their servers, like emails, photos, documents, everything is gone, and you cannot recover it. So this is one of the problems with the centralized platforms. And if you use such centralized platforms as a foundation for your business, you're under risk because you're totally dependent on them. And it is becoming more and more obvious, especially with Facebook recently, especially with how big players change their algorithms and how they play with audience and how they use your data. So it's a problem that people are becoming aware of, and it's something that will, in my opinion, accelerate the adoption of blockchain services. Of course, there is a new paradigm about data ownership, very much aligned with Liberty and with the main topic of this conference, that in the future people will be actually the owners of their data. People will be in control. People will be able also to get some reward, some return on their data. And it is possible to do it now with this technology. And this one is pretty obvious, actually. When is the right moment to use blockchain? When you want to make a business network, when you want to bring partners together in one environment, in one network, and everyone can have secure shared access to data. Especially in the supply chain, especially in other business use cases, this is something that is already recognized as a value from the businesses. I really like this one. And this is one of the use cases and one of the problems that we identified. Actually, we work currently on the Dutch market. We have a Dutch company, and when I was speaking with some businesses from this region, they told me that with blockchain, they want to do this cross-checking. I can check you as a business partner, and you can check me, because we work within this distributed ledger. everyone can access data that is registered. There is full traceability. Everything is recorded with timestamp. And if you want to check and verify if something is really happened, if transactions really happened, you can do it in a very efficient and quick way. Okay, I will skip this one because it's very obvious. What you can do now with blockchain in terms of distributing value. First, of course, it's really efficient if you want to exchange value directly. You want to buy coffee from a farmer from South America, for example, and you can identify the right farmer. You can check it. You can order the coffee and pay directly and get exactly what you pay for. So this possibility to exchange value directly, to do business in a quick and efficient way is at the core of the technology. But I'm really excited how you can use blockchain in order to incentivize certain behavior, including consumer behavior. And I'll give a few examples afterwards. Of course, in my opinion, blockchain is an efficient tool if you want to comply with the current regulations in terms of privacy, data ownership, GDPR. First, because you are able to do transactions anonymously with your unique identity on the blockchain. Public address, and also using blockchain, you can be the owner of content generated by you, and then you can use it in other contexts or in other platforms. Okay, traceability is something that I already mentioned, and it is very recognized benefits, especially speaking about supply chain, speaking about automating certain transactions and preventing counterfeit, for example, or any kind of fraud. Okay, so it's my favorite one actually. How you can escape the zero-sum game. So what's the zero-sum game? You have one cake and it's one. So I take bigger part of this cake and there is a small part remaining for you. So it's about big centralized organizations using their authority, using their power in order to make more profits, in order to increase their economic results or to reach some kind of monopoly in some cases. This all at the expense of other participants or other clients or other businesses because of the centralizations, because they own data, because they are able to define the rules of the games and they are able to use this for their advantage, actually. So what happens with blockchain is that you have all these organizations, users, participating in one network. They have transparent access to data. If they follow this consensus mechanism, if they follow the rules of this network, there will be value for all of them. So instead of going to a zero-sum game, now we aim at positive-sum game, looking for synergy, looking for cooperation, working for ways to work with the others, to create value in a transparent, efficient way, and to distribute this value in a very fair manner. What I have seen in the last months, actually, a number of examples that some startups, they take existing models, existing use cases, and they try to move them on the blockchain. It's not the right way to proceed, in my opinion, because you should first think how you could remodel, how you can re-engineer these processes, what happens on the blockchain, how to use its unique properties, its unique features, how you can develop new business models, for example, on top of it. And so don't take something that's existing and transfer it on the blockchain. It's not the right approach. And think about remodeling, re-engineering, creating new ways of interactions and processes. Excuse me. Okay, some examples about business models that will emerge, in my opinion, in the next few years. Different prices based on reputation, based on what transactions you did in the past. When I go to buy a coffee in Netherlands, it is €3, and no matter where I go, it's approximately €3. But why it should be €3? and why we should all pay the same prices for different services or products. What if we can use our reputation on the network? What if we can gain some trust, confidence, and based on our contribution, based on our past transactions, get better conditions, get better price. Something that is at the core of Recheck is how you can incentivize users to provide data to the network and how we can award these contributions. Of course, using this technology, you can influence, you can change consumer behavior, and you can incentivize honest behavior. Something that we're also working on, digital life of physical products, digital passport of equipment, electronics. So it's about registering your car, your computer on the blockchain, and then starting to manage the history. And of course, blockchain is really efficient if you want to add services to products. If you want to wrap up services around the product, you can do it in a way that is not possible with the current technologies, in my opinion. Don't use blockchain if you're doing something internal for your organization. You can do it with database, so it's not necessary, it's not this universal and solution for everything. Of course, blockchain is not a messaging solution, it's not a single database replacement. And currently it's not suited, it's not appropriate for low-value transactions. So in an essence, currently you can use this technology in order to create a secure environment. I see it as an underlying security layer. And it's something that that we'll see more often than not in the next years. Blockchain as a standard for providing more security, more trust, and a way to do verification in an easy, quick way. Bringing transparency and automating operations and reducing transaction costs are something that you can get as advantage immediately, even now. So what we're building with Recheck? Actually, now Recheck is actually in Google Play. So if you have Android device, you can check for Recheck mobile application. You can download it and you can use it in order to make some transactions in real time on a live blockchain. So our application is an interface to this technology. It's I can say we democratize. We allow ordinary people to execute transactions and to run some smart contracts on the blockchain just by tapping some buttons on their mobile device, on the application. You can use Recheck in order to register, for example, your car, your electronics, bicycle. Soon it will be available also for documents. So you put your belongings on the blockchain. And once you register your car, for example, on the blockchain, we create unique identity of this car. And then you can start to manage the history of this vehicle. You can add some digital facts, for example, regarding repairs, upgrades, maintenance. And these facts can be validated by some external organizations, like garages or service shops. So you're increasing the value of your belongings by adding these digitally validated facts. And then you can transfer ownership, again, on blockchain. Something that we were building for the last 1 year and few months. And we are currently at this stage where we're going public, and it will be announced, and we have some key partnerships ongoing. So it's about gaining more trust, transparency about your belongings, and especially for the ones that you want to sell as a second hand, getting better price. And of course, you can use Recheck as a tool to verify authenticity. Businesses can use Recheck in order to register their products on the blockchain with some electronic tags or NFC chips, for example. So if you want to check if something is original, authentic, then you just tap your phone, you can scan it, and you can see if the information is, if the product is authentic. Some screenshots from our product, and it's from the iPhone application, which will be live in actually a few weeks. Now it is in review. So it is how your camera will look like if it is registered on the blockchain, and this hash, the QR code, is the identity of the product. Okay, and once you register your camera or your car, you can start to add some digital facts regarding maintenance or upgrades, everything validated by other users of Recheck. And then, of course, you can transfer ownership from this button here below. And we're using Ethereum blockchain. We run our own private network, but we also support public network. So if you want to do something on the public network, you can do it with a Recheck, but you need to pay for the gas fee. You need to transfer some Ether to your balance in order to make the transactions. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So we have 5 minutes to get 2 to 3 questions from the audience. And first question from me, when are you doing an ICO?
We're not doing this traditional classic ICO. We will introduce tokens at some point when the product is really stable and efficient. And these tokens will be used for some functionality, something that users can do within the application. For example, it will be about registering your property, your belongings, and winning some tokens for this. Or businesses can pay by tokens in order to interact and engage potential customers and people who really bought their products. So there won't be a pre-sale, and we won't be selling this.
So no pump and dump.
No, not really. Actually, the businesses should buy the tokens in order to communicate, engage, interact with customers.
Good. I see a raised hand right there towards the front.
Hi, one practical question. How do you verify ownership prior an asset is registered into Recheck?
So it's a transaction.
So to avoid that, for example, I just go and scan someone else's belonging and register it as mine.
Okay, so there is a unique ownership code for each of the items that's registered on the blockchain. And this ownership code could be provided by the producers, for example, if you have already claimed a product, you have this unique ownership code that you can provide to the buyers. So it's about executing smart contracts on the blockchain. It's about cryptographic security and several layers of protection. So you have your unique identity on the blockchain, and we connect your identity with the identity of the item, and you become an owner of it by executing this transaction. I can demonstrate it after the speech if you're interested.
Okay, I see another raised hand right there.
You mentioned before that blockchain isn't a suitable solution for communication. I'd like to ask, what are your arguments for this?
Not really for communication, for messaging as it is now.
Yeah, for messaging.
First, I think that messaging requires implementing a huge number of transactions for a completely short period of time. So it's about the scalability of the blockchain. Second is about that once registered, these messages, they stay. You cannot change, delete. You cannot do anything with them. So I'm speaking about how you can, on one hand, how you can use the existing technical infrastructure of blockchain, and for me it's not really appropriate for high volume of transactions like the messaging that relate to the messaging, and about what you want really to keep and to store on the blockchain.
Well, I'm not saying that the messages are stored on the blockchain. I'm just mentioning that you don't need to keep the messages on the blockchain. Okay. You could just use the blockchain for public key distribution between users for end-to-end encryption. And if you want to achieve a better transaction limit, because each call and message is practically a transaction, you could use the graphene protocol used in beachers. They achieved 100K transaction per second, and it can be upgraded, but this limit, I think it's suitable for messaging solution.
Okay, agree. I'm not a technical guy in the team, so if you want to make me feel uncomfortable, you can ask me technical questions.
Okay.
Okay. So one more question here at the front. Wait for the microphone, please. Yeah.
Thanks. So I'll give you a hypothetical scenario. Say, for example, I go on a website that sells used goods.
Okay.
And I look for a PC, and people post pictures from all angles. And in most cases, from the bottom. So I'll have a picture with the serial number. If I then go and take those pictures and put it into your application, does that make it mine as far as your system is concerned?
Your question is, can you claim a product that is not your property?
Yes.
Or if you have access to some sensitive information regarding this product? For example, like the serial number or maybe document. Okay, so what we offer now is just a playground. So we want to start from the source, from the producers, maybe at some point with the retailers. Officially, if you want to use our technology, Recheck, in order to show that you are actually the owner, you should have bought this product from the producer, from the retailer, and it's a transaction that is implemented with the unique identity generated by the producer of this computer, for example, and then it could have, in the future, a legal power. And this legal aspect is something that will evolve. But now you can claim that you are the owner of the Eiffel Tower or of anything. So what we offer now is just a playground for testing, and then there will be a completely different status of transactions and ownership depending on whether you have done it in the officially regulated way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you.